One thing I was really taken by is you mentioned that there were strong influences on your work coming from both your family and your own cultural history.
Yeah.
And could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think some of my first influences were probably like my family, for a simple fact that they steered me towards art at a young age. I think when I was probably like in the 4th grade or so. And I remember just being that kid who was staring out the window, and the teachers didn't know exactly what to do with me. And my mother, being a school teacher, kind of guided me into different art programs. I think I studied at like the museum on Saturday mornings to, as part of one project which was called the Neighborhood Art Center, where different artists came through. And I think even people like Samuel Jackson taught there, artists like Romare Bearden were associated with it. And it was a thing that was going on in the city where we were bringing art throughout the city through old abandoned high schools. And so I was involved in that, and then also my aunt was an artist, but she never really showed much, but she traveled a lot and made a lot of art, and pretty much that was my mother's favorite aunt. And it was her mother's sister. And so my mother really enjoyed being around her, and I was kind of like her favorite person. And I remember just some of those things early on in childhood, but then also as we moved from New Jersey 4 years after I was born in '68. Later on, 4 years, we moved to Atlanta, and I remember migrating, going back and forth, and every summer we would spend in Virginia. And when those summers I would spend in Virginia, I would work with my grandfather in the fields. He raised peanuts. And I remember certain things that my grandfather taught me, and he used to make these bird houses, and he said that the birds will tell you when the weather changes, and so will people. And so as I went through art school, I started realizing some of the things that I really wanted to be influenced by. And those were those experiences I had as a child, having those encounters with, you know, work in that kind of way, and dealing with someone who had hadn't really had a lot, but built a lot for himself. Somebody who only had like a 3rd grade education, but he was his own person, he had maybe several businesses, had a farm, and there were certain things he knew and stories he told me which were very, very important to me today.